I'm gonna tell you guys if med school is worth it. This is gonna be my honest thoughts, unfiltered, unscripted. I'm gonna give you what I've been through and if I think med school is worth it. First things first, med school is way harder than I had anticipated at all. There's so much going on, all the information, all the stuff that they're throwing at you. It's like a quote they say, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. I heard this quote when I was applying for med schools and I had no idea what it meant, but the definition and the meaning of it is that drinking out of a fire hose is like if you have your mouth open and the fire hose is just squirting all the water at you, you can't digest all of it and it's going endlessly. That's exactly how med school is. It's a perfect example. The amount of information that's thrown at you is insane. It's like, yeah, it's a lot to absorb. And I don't know, it took me a while to adapt. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the smartest kid out there. I really have to struggle and work to, get my test scores well, do decently in school. So I'm not the best, I'd say. So it probably took me more adaptation than maybe the average med student. But I will say that's probably the biggest thing that I did not know about. And this isn't to scare you guys from not doing med school. This is just my experience. Everyone's experience is probably different than mine, but as a med student myself, I thought it was hard. First of all, getting into med school is hard, but then starting med school is pretty hard. So my first year, I was really struggling to balance how much I'm going to study and how much I could do my life. And for me, the life part was usually just working out. And even just that by itself was kind of hard for me because at first, when I got into med school, I was like, okay, I'm gonna grind as much as I can, do as well as I can, and add in only essential things. And working out was essential for me. And I took breaks. I took adequate breaks of watching Top Gear on YouTube, watching other random YouTube videos. Like I had scheduled time periods right after school, right at dinner, and like at night, I would watch shows on YouTube. And that's what I did because I told myself I need to make sure I'm mentally okay and that those breaks would help me and I would be able to work out, take those breaks and study. Little did I know, I was very wrong. I took my first test in med school and I barely passed it, and it was so hard and I had to reshape everything because I was like, okay, I can't be taking this many breaks, I can't be working out at like 5 p.m. because that's when all the people are at the gym and there's just not enough time to do everything I want in a quick amount of time. So then I really restructured everything, changed my workouts in the morning, took less breaks, and kind of just started studying all day long. I know that sounds terrible, but it's not continuous studying. For me, I found that in med school, I really need to push myself because I'm not the fastest learner or the quickest learner, but I need to go over everything multiple times to really absorb the info. So I would go through all the info, but like after 30, 40 minutes, an hour, I take a quick break on social media, watch a YouTube video, talk to a friend if I'm sitting next to one studying. I kept doing that all day long. And it really taught me that, I need to work all day long, but take mini micro breaks all throughout the day, not big chunks of time like I used to. It just didn't work for me. And that's another thing in med school. You gotta find out what works for you, and you really do find out in med school. If you haven't figured it out in college or high school or any time before, med school is the time you really figure out what exactly works for you. Because before then, I thought, oh, I'll just go over the slides, I'll be good for the test. That's all I did. That's all I did after med school. It was easy. But in med school, you really have to not just go over the slides, you really have to read in depth, understand it. There is a lot of memorization, but understanding the basics is vital, and then memorizing the sparse other details, which there's endless amounts of them, so you can't do all of them. But memorizing sparse amounts of extra details really helps on tests. But understanding the basics of the concepts that all those sparse details are made on, that's key. And I'm not the greatest understander, but it took me a long time to figure out, okay, how do I understand? And for me, I found out that slides aren't the only way to go about it for me. I need to watch videos. And that's where I became a heavy supporter of third-party videos. Those guys explain everything so perfectly. And it's like drawn out, you could visualize it, you could hear it. It's just perfect because the med school lectures, oh, I didn't even talk about that. Med school lectures. from my school and other schools that I've heard of, they're not the best. Their professors talking for 2-3 hours on a single topic that you can do in like 20 to 30 minutes on a third party. Think of it from a time efficient standpoint alone. Like 30 minutes versus 2 hours, 30 minutes is way more efficient. On top of that, the 30 minutes is just straight at you, facts, details, no extra details, just straight to the point. And I'm more of that type of guy. I like straight to the point stuff. So that's why I've been a big proponent of third parties and what they have done for me. And so third parties is how I figured out I could understand the material better, because it explained it everything to the point and I understood it. On top of this, I also learned that Anki, the flashcard app that everyone talks about in med school, actually is really helpful. I didn't do it for the first year, and then I started doing a lot more in the second year, and I really learned that I'm a guy that likes seeing stuff over and over again to keep it in my mind, otherwise I forget. So I needed Anki from the beginning. I just didn't know how to use it properly. I was probably too scared because the Anki deck, the famous deck that everyone does, has like 50,000 cards in it, and that seems like a lot. But if you do it over the years, you can do it, you complete it. I didn't do that because I was too traumatized by the number. I didn't start it from day one. I only did a few, I probably did like 10,000 of them. And then I actually started doing Anki second year, but I only did it tailored for step 1 and the curriculum that I had for second year. But I gotta say, Anki is a help. Anki is amazing. Keeps it fresh in your mind. If you do it from day one and you do it continuously every day, I assure you tests will be so easy, boards will be so easy, your life will be so much better. That's probably one of the few things I would 100% change on the first day of med school. I would start doing Anki religiously. And it's not just about doing it on the weekdays, skipping weekends. You gotta do it on the weekends. That little bit of extra effort on the weekends will pay a long way forward your whole med school career and possibly even into residency. I've seen residents still doing Anki while they're on their different resident rotations or whatever it's called. So yeah, that's the academic side of what I've been through med school, what I've learned. I know that was chaotic. I was jumping all over the place, but that's kind of how my mind works. I'm a very jumpy, chaotic person, and I can't really stick to a topic. So that's why I like the quick, efficient lectures on third parties. Moving on to everything outside of academics. Academics aside, we talked about it. How is med school outside of academics? I gotta say it's different. The people you meet are gonna be a different type of people than your college years, that's for sure, because these people are much more determined to get to their goals. They're gonna be more serious about it, and it's all different ages. So in college, you're usually with people around the same age as you, but in med school, the ages are very variable. You can have people with multiple kids, or you can have 18-year-olds who skip like high school. So it's a very variable age group, and it's hard matching everyone's personality, everyone's different stages of life. It's fun to get to know everyone and hang out with them, but it is a different experience. It's a different vibe. So that is to be expected at any med school, because medicine attracts all ages. It's one of the most desired careers. You're giving back to people in one of the highest forms possible, and it's just very desirable. Some people couldn't do it because they couldn't afford it when they were younger, so they worked another job and then they came back. So it's interesting hearing everyone's stories, everyone's backgrounds. A lot of people like hearing that. I enjoy hearing other people's backgrounds. And as you go forward, you start to get to know people better, and you become better peers, you work together, and especially on rotations where you're with someone that you might not know for like 8 weeks together, you really get to know them. And that might be the only person your age-ish that you might see if you're on rotations, because all the other people might be healthcare workers that have been settled in for many years. So the people are going to be different is the point. And yeah, moving on to like extracurriculars and stuff. There's a lot of extracurricular opportunities in med school. Once you're a med student, you get bombarded with extracurriculars. I'm talking about like state level, county level, city level. There's so many events happening, and they always want med students to do something. And then there's always interest groups within the schools that you can sign up for volunteering at places. It's just a lot. There's so much you can do. I would advise anyone that's about to join medical school to kind of do the ones you're more interested in. For example, me, I like more of a global health type of approach in my future, and I liked doing those non-profit clinics. And I was part of a couple where we went out in the community, we talked to the people, we gave back to them, did a full clinic with them. It was just really nice. That was what I kind of found my passion is. But if you, let's say, want to be a cardiologist, there's cardiology groups. They do their own cardiology events. They hold seminars, they go out and see patients. There's so many opportunities. But I advise you guys to do the opportunities you're more interested in. But make sure you do some activities, because when it comes time to residencies, that's when they want to see, were you doing anything besides academics? And they like seeing people who were out in the community actually doing what medicine they can do, because it shows you actually do have a passion in medicine. You're just not there for academics. That's what they want to see. So do some activities outside of academics, and preferably the ones you're interested in. If you're confused what you want to do, kind of dabble in everything. See what you like and stick to the ones. Like, let's say for a year, 6 months, a year, you stick to cardiology, but you're like, I want to do a nephrology group as well. We're doing both, but then like 6 months, a year into, you're like, I don't like the cardiology group anymore. Don't re-sign up the next year. Just stick to your nephrology group. And then who knows, the second year you run for like a position like president, secretary, VP, etc. That'll look even better, because that shows, okay, now not only are you in the group, but you're leading that group. That shows you really have an interest in that. That'll look really good if you're applying for those types of residencies. So that's my advice for you in terms of extracurricular activities. In terms of research, so research is highly important that you do at least a few papers, because everyone out there is doing research papers nowadays, and if you don't do any, it's not going to look good. But let's say you're confused on what you want to do, and you're stuck between like, oh, I want to do dermatology, or I just want to be a hospitalist. Like, very extreme differences. Dermatology being the very competitive specialty, and since the hospitalist internal medicine is like not that competitive. But if you're stuck in between them, and let's say you're going into medical school and you're thinking about either one, I would really highly advise you guys start doing research in dermatology and just research in general a lot. Because if you think you're going to go into a competitive specialty like derm or like orthopedics or anything like that, start preparing yourself as if you're going to apply for those, because that will set you up for success if you do decide to apply. If you have no interest at all in those highly competitive specialties, and you just want to do like, let's say, pediatrics, which isn't that competitive, and that is your life goal, you've always wanted to be a pediatrician, then you don't have to do all the research in the world. You really don't. And you can relax up on those extracurriculars and just focus on your pediatrics oriented stuff. But if you have that little inkling, just even a little inkling that you want to do a highly competitive specialty, I would really advise you guys after like your first semester of med school to really start getting into research, those extracurriculars, hammer those in, because that's where your brownie points are going to be earned on residency apps. And that's what they're going to want to see. That's also something I really learned. I was not interested in the highly competitive specialties. I kind of wanted to do the basics, internal medicine. So I knew that I wouldn't have to do a ton of research papers, but I did do a few. I still do ongoing research that I find fun and cool, but otherwise I'm not heavy on research. I'm not doing 20, 30 research papers. I know people that are trying to go to competitive specialties are doing like 20, 30. I know one person with like over 50. But yeah, it all depends on what you want to do. And that's what med school all comes down to. I've learned in med school what my passions are, what drives me, what works for me, and kind of figured out how I want to go about life. And that's what med school is. It's real adult life school. That's how I would put it. College was an adult school. College was like advanced high school because, you know, you're alone. While med school is like, it's like adult, real life school. Lots of stress, lots of struggle. You learn what works, you learn what doesn't work, and you learn what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and you have to keep pushing forward. Yeah, that's my thoughts on medical school. Yeah, what to expect in medical school. I kind of gave a rundown. This was my first unscripted video. I don't know if anyone's watching this. I don't know if people like this, but if you like this and you want me to go into roots, more depth on a topic or something, or you want me to keep doing these unscripted videos on a topic, let me know. Yeah, hope this helps for the 1 or 2 people or whoever, however many people who watch this. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys well. Bye-bye.